Dearly beloved, good morning. My name is Imogen, and I am sitting in the library at the Church of the Good Shepherd. And even though you are further away than I wish you were, I'm going to pretend that you are sitting with me. And I'm so glad, first of all, that you decided to come to Vacation Bible School this year. I am utterly delighted because the next favorite thing of mine, from getting to be with people that God made and getting to see their faces and hear their voices and delight in everything that they do, my next favorite thing is being able to talk and to learn and to hear about God and who God is and what God has done in the past and what God is doing now. And so I am delighted that I get to share with you a story called When God Made the World. Now you may think to yourself, I know that story already. I know about when God made the world. There was day one, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. Something about God calling it good. Then God made other things, and eventually God rested. Done. I already know this story. But I wonder if this year, this summer, with this Vacation Bible School, if God might show us something new in this story. Because sometimes one of the most surprising ways that God works is to show us surprising things in places that we thought were already familiar to us. So I wonder if you listen, and I listen, and we listen together, maybe we might hear and see something new about when God made the world. So here we go. We've got some fish. They're very important. And we've got a wonderful author who is Matthew Paul Turner and an illustrator whose name is Jillian Gamble. Here we go. We're starting out in the bedroom. In the very beginning, before anything was, before God started doing what it is that God does, when all that existed was wide open space, God imagined a universe and began to create. God hung trillions of lights, stars big and stars bright. God turned the dark sky into a glorious sight. God put planets in places with moons, in some cases, and galaxies that reach the outermost spaces. God made comets that fly with tails through the sky, and asteroids and meteors that sometimes zoom by. And with cosmic explosions, God set space in motion, causing planets to orbit their suns with devotion. And somewhere, amid all the swirling light, inside a cluster of milky white, among stars and planets and cosmic dust, God made a place for the story of us. Because when God made the world, God displayed heaven's glory for you and for me and for all the world's stories. Our planet, God made a blue and green sphere and designed it to orbit the sun once a year. God made daytime and nighttime, climates and seasons and all kinds of weather that varies by region. God made continents and oceans, islands and seas, a north and south pole that God put in deep freeze. Ooh, chilly. God carved rivers and brooks, mountains and caves, made beaches with sand and huge crashing waves. God made tropics and plateaus, glaciers and meadows, marshes and tundras, and erupting volcanoes. God made some places high with peaks in the sky, and places where snowflakes still fall in July. And in quite a few spots, God made it so hot, should you visit, just know that you must drink a lot. God made valleys so low and geysers that blow, and under earth's surface, God made well springs that flow. Then, with gardens and forests and other things green, God made earth come to life, using soil and seed. God made cypress and pines, bushes and vines, all kinds of trees with leaves God designed. Plants full of flavor, like basil and thyme, and trees that grow citrus, like grapefruit and lime. You like grapefruit? I like grapefruit. Depends what mood you're in. God made flowering plants, and plants that enchant. While most you can touch, God made some that you can't. Roses, be warned, are prickly with thorns. And there's an African melon God covered in horns. And poison ivy's backlash, giving you a rash. Wherever it touches, you'll itch and you'll scratch. Oof. But don't let that stop you. Run barefoot through grass. Pick a flower or two, or a bouquet perhaps. Find a tree you can climb, or with a seat and some twine, build your very own swing, or a backyard zip line. And when you eat grapes, or pour syrup on crepes, or into a forest you go to escape, give thanks to God for all that God made, for the fruit and the syrup, for the trees and the shade. Because when God made the world, God did all that God could to create every detail for our joy and our good. Now, what happened next is a mystery at best, but God made a bird, and that bird made a nest. So God filled the sky, perhaps over time, with birds and more birds, and most learned how to fly. God made bluebirds and blackbirds, big birds and small birds, a few birds quite absurd, and the loudest bird you ever heard. Crows crowed, doves cooed, chickens clucked, owls hooed, robins chirped, pheasants whirred. The world got noisy when God made birds. Then the oceans God filled with fish, sharks, and krill. Creatures God made with fins and with gills, swordfish and trout, fish sleek and fish stout, and whales that God made to breathe through a spout. God made sea rays and eels, fish red, yellow, or teal, and some fish so odd they hardly look real. Like a fish that has fangs, or a monster-like face, or a fish that flies, or makes its body inflate. And wherever a river, ocean, or sea touches dry land, there's likely to be all sorts of creatures living their lives on land and in water. That's how they survive. Like otters and frogs, turtles on logs, and crocodiles getting in swampy bogs. And then God made cows, horses, and goats. And God made gibbons with inflatable throats. God planned lions to roar and tigers to pounce, and kangaroos, God thought, let's make you bounce. God made bears to growl, moles to plow, and under full moons, coyotes to howl. Donkeys brayed, giraffes bleated, jaguars prayed, rhinos stampeded. Yes, all living creatures, from whales to snails. From those covered with feathers to those covered with scales, each God designed with a home in mind to develop and evolve, if needed, over time. Because when God made the world, every creature on earth became part of life's circle, having value and worth. And God made people. People like you and me. People with souls. People with stories. a global family tree. God made us all flesh and bone, covered in skin, and made all our bodies to have hearts beating within. God gave us bellies and legs, fingers and toes, and fashioned our faces with eyes, mouth, and nose. God made our bodies uniquely equipped for walking and talking, to eat and to skip. God wired our brains to feel love and feel pain, to process and learn, to read and retain. But despite all we share, we're also unique. God made us all human, with just a few tweaks. Each of our faces, bodies, and traits, our skin tones, our features, God did create. God made some people shy, and some people loud, and some who thrive in the midst of a crowd. Some make music, and some like math, and some are prone to blaze their own path. But always remember, because this much is true, God had a purpose for making you, you. So, use every gift, every talent or shtick, make the world better with your God-given trick. Bring smiles to faces, show love and good graces to those who need hope in all different places. Discover a star, a planet or moon, or help keep a forest from dying too soon. Save a whale, hug a tree, protect every bee. Recycle, repurpose, reject apathy. Because all of creation whispers God's story. The mountain, the ocean, the blue morning glory, the raindrops, the sunshine, the grapes on the grapevine. With nature, God gives us a glimpse of divine. And just like a star might showcase God's light, or a waterfall give us a sign of God's might, the same could be said of me and of you. How we live, how we love, tells God's story too. Because when God made the world and the world started spinning, the story God wrote was just a beginning. So I pray that during this Vacation Bible School week, you will not only learn new ways to tell God's story in baking and art and stories that you read, but also in stories that you live. That you are one of the most wonderful stories of who God is and what God does. So, thank you for spending this story time with me. I cannot wait to see you and hug you very, very soon. And in the meantime, I am hugging you so tightly over the internet. And I wish you a most blessed and wonderful VBS week and a wonderful, wonderful summer ahead. Bye-bye. God bless you.